It is March 27th, 2019. Hopefully I'm speaking loud enough for everybody. We are making a batch of indoor growing soil that should be pretty decent. It's just a bunch of things that we like to throw together. There's several different ways this can be mixed up, but we also don't really know measurements too well. We just kind of eyeball it till it's the consistency we want. What we got in here right now currently is a whole bunch of coconut coir. They come in these little bricks for about $3, and the ones that we get anyways, and they are at the Home Depot. You go look for the succulents. Near the succulent section, you'll look up high on the shelf, and you'll find a little rectangle box there with some of those in there. But that's where we found them at our Home Depot. But they're $3. They're little bricks like this. Let me see. This is one brick right here being expanded with water. We also like to add perlite to it. And so, since this is the only one we could find, I made this for you guys right here just in case anybody was worried about the brand name. There we go. There we go. Maniacal Snow. Yeah, it was either that or Spherical Glow. I couldn't decide. So we got some perlite here. We like to mix that with it as well. It's a little bit lighter than some of the other stuff. We do also from Walmart. That I believe cost about $5-6, and you can get that bag anywhere. And then we use worm castings, but we get the store-bought worm castings just because they're more cleaned for stuff like that. We have a resource for really excellent worm castings locally that even like have like a bunch of worms and stuff in them. We like to mix that with our outdoor soil. For the indoor soil, though, it's really prone to getting gnats and things like that in your soil. So what we're mixing is earthworm castings, perlite, coconut coir. We're going to throw in a whole entire thing of cinnamon and just mix it in with the soil. It should help with the soil overall. We do like to sprinkle it on top as well. Another little tip is Epsom salt. Let me go grab that for you. Sorry if this camera is probably all over the place. Maybe I'll see if I can edit it. This is an 8-pound bag of Epsom salt, and we got this at Walmart last year. And it's something we extremely like to use instead of using fertilizers like Miracle-Gro fertilizers, things like that. But this right here, last year it cost us $6 for this $8 bag, and we spotted them this year for $5. So you want to basically look. You can find some Epsom salts and stuff with perfumes and things in them, and that might not be as good of an idea. But we use a lot of Epsom salt. We use it in our bass for mussels. We use it in our garden, indoors and outdoors. I don't think we'll be mixing it in with the soil, but the way that we use it is they say 1 to 2 tablespoons for a gallon of water. So just find an old milk container or something, clean it out really well, fill it full of water, and add 1 or 2 tablespoons. Me and Angel, we tend to use 3 to 5 tablespoons. So it's really hard to overuse Epsom salt. From what I understand, it only feeds it one nutrient overly much, so you can use it to overdo it, and 3 to 5 tablespoons might be a little bit. We've never seen that we've been able to overuse it, but we have we always go behind after we've washed, or after we've watered everything with the Epsom salt water, and we go by with the rinse water too, some clean water behind it. So even though we use a little bit more, we also, you know, overall in the soil it probably dampens it down a little bit. But Epsom salt is a really great fertilizer to help you get your stuff going a little bit better. It greens up the leaves really well. It makes the fruit sweeter. Just look for this one here, says plant food directly on it, and so $5, 8-pound bag. It's been a year, and we have used this extremely a lot, so it goes a really long ways for $5. The perlite, we also like to use sand too, and I'll show you guys that in just 1 second. Then worm casting. So Angel's here, she's mixing the 3rd brick of the coconut coir, and as you can see, it's really moisture absorbent material, a lot like peat moss. We like coconut coir. It should be a resource that should be used a lot more, but being in the US, we don't see it as often as we should because it doesn't grow here as naturally. It's not as easy for us to use as a nationally homegrown resource, so having to ship it from out of the country and stuff doesn't make it as feasible. But even being shipped from outside of the country, from what I understand, it does still have a high turnover rate. It's a way better resource to use, more renewable by a long shot. But you always have to watch too. The coconut coir we get specifically for plants, sometimes you can find that stuff at pet stores and other places, and it's not washed quite well enough. So being that it comes from the husks of coconuts, it will tend to be grown a lot near the oceans and things like that, and can get a lot of salt waters and stuff. So they actually wash that, but when they bring it over here, they actually should be washing it at once or twice more. But anyhow, coconut coir, we'll be mixing some earthworm castings. Really, really, really great too. That's basically our power punch fertilizer that's going mixed into this other stuff. Perlite. Let me walk you guys out here real quick. Gratuitous pepper shot. So anyhow, we're hitting about 6.5 minutes. What we're doing is we're just fluffing out that coconut coir. It comes in a brick and fluffs out. We'll mix in the earthworm castings, perlite, and playground sand. All natural playground sand, or just sand. It's good as far as helping the soil break out. But we'll go ahead and start mixing this up, and I'll show you guys more in just a second. Alright, so we used the whole bag of perlite. We used 3 bricks of the coconut coir. We used the entire thing of worm castings. Here's the cinnamon. We'll just go ahead and mix that in there as well. Sorry, I hope that didn't waft in your face like that. Another free container. Makes the soil smell a lot better too. Sometimes soil can get a little funky smelling, but that cinnamon really helps keep the funguses down and things like that. Makes the soil just smell like good soil. So what we'll do is we'll get this all finished, mixed up, and once we're done, we'll check the consistency. And what we're wanting to see is when we grab some of it, squeeze it. Even though it's a little bit wet, it should break apart fairly easily. If you grab it and you squeeze it when it's just slightly damp and it stays clumped and it won't come apart from that clump,
it's too wet.
It could be too wet, but you also still want it to break up a little bit. You don't want it to stay in a clump. If you can drop it onto a plate in a clump and the clump doesn't break, that's too compact moisturizing. So what we'll do is, this stuff right here feels pretty good so far. But what we'll end up doing is checking the consistency one more time when we're done. And then we will slowly add sand little by little to wait until it gets to that state. But even in this state right here, this is super nutrient rich soil. We can use it for seed starting. We can use it for fertilizing the house plants that we keep inside year round. We can use it when we transplant plants, and there's a boatload of it here. So we did have a tiny bit at the bottom, but it pretty much filled this container. Tons of it, down to your elbow deep. So just, I don't know if this will turn out into a video. I just thought it's kind of some interesting stuff. This mix right here has really worked for us. That's one of the probably nifty little unheard secrets is play sand and stuff like that. If you just make sure it's all natural, because you can find a lot of metal chunks and stuff in this crazy thing. And make sure you go out and buy it. Don't be going to any playgrounds and taking any sand from any kids. So anyways, this might even be the same bag that Sapper had in his video. But this stuff goes a long ways. What was it, $5?
Yeah.
50 pounds of sand, and we'll actually be using this quite a bit out through the yard as we retrim the soil and kind of get the composition of it to where we want it. But nifty little soil mix. This isn't necessarily a tutorial at all. This is just a bunch of the stuff that we grabbed and got together and decided to throw together and make a little video and see if anybody else had any ideas on what kinds of things they like. Good things to go in this would also be coffee grounds. And they're also pretty much sanitized because you run them through the coffee maker, and there you go. And then you can just mix them right in there as well. But we don't like to leave the coffee grounds sitting out too much. So if we're not going to mix them in immediately or have a bunch of them at once, what we end up doing is just running them straight to the outside compost. But some quick little indoor mix sand from store-bought components, Home Depot and Walmart. Love you guys. March something or another, 27th, I believe. And thanks for watching. Have a great day.
So here we are, mixing up our perlite, coconut coir, worm castings, and some sand. This is our indoor soil mix.
It probably would have been better to slow mix this because we filled this way up. But
yeah.
Some good soil there, good for seed starting, good fertilization, stuff like that. Really help the plants out, and then follow up with every couple weeks some Epsom salt water, and it's a good way to run through this last little gauntlet of cold weather ups and downs before we hit this season, and we're ready to start on our own personal tomato tray, and things are kicking butt everywhere we look. So love you guys.
Thanks for watching.